Now in Detroit, El Sayed did not do well because black people did not vote for him. And this is coming to my story now. Blacks around America are not voting for the progressive left. They continue to go with the Democratic establishment. I don't know why. I think there's two reasons they do this, and it's especially the older voters, is because they still remember the good old civil rights days, and we want our ability to vote. We want our ability to go to school with white people and be able to sleep and marry them, and also be able to eat in the same room with them, and we don't want to lose it. That's the only thing I can think of. Because why wouldn't you want to vote for someone who's of color, someone who says that we need to have education, maybe even free education, who says we need to have healthcare subsidized, free healthcare, who says we need to have daycare? Why would you not vote for him, but you would vote for people who are? I'm talking about the black community, people who have been established as spending money on war, spending money on not just war, weapons manufacturing and things like that, and giving taxes breaks and ignoring bills, or not ignoring, but not fighting hard enough to pass bills that meet the concerns of the black community. The black community needs an injection of capital into our schools, into our neighborhoods, into our infrastructure, the same way we see governments kick capital into the suburbs so that the suburbs can flourish where white folks live. So I don't know why you wouldn't vote for these people. You say, "Oh, we can't vote for them because they can't win in major elections." But the question is, the Democrats that you're putting in office there, what are they doing for you, and how has it worked? So my argument is that you're continually voting for the established Democrat people, and they don't help you. And you say, "Well, I'm going to do it because we need them to beat guys like Trump. We can't win with these far left people who are a little bit too exotic for us." My question is, does it make a difference? Because the people that you put in office, you put Obama in office, you put Biden in office, you put Pelosi in office, you put these guys in office. What have they done for the black community? And there's a general feeling all over America that the Democrats are shiftless. They're lazy, and they're not going to pass anything that's going to help the poor or the black because they know that they will vote for you regardless of your performance. El Sayed did not get the majority of the black votes. And that's why he almost lost in Detroit. Detroit is the blackest city in Michigan. And they voted for the other candidate rather than the progressive candidate. And I'm going to tell you, progressive means pro black as far as I'm concerned, not just pro black. But if you're not voting for progressive, then you're not voting for black interests. In New York, during the primaries, black people voted for Cuomo over Mamdani. Mamdani is a socialist. Once again, socialist means in our poorest neighborhoods, in places where there's working people who are suffering, there's universal um, there's universal daycare, which is going to help poor people. There's universal daycare, free buses, subsidized education, healthcare, community centers. And you're a black person, and you're not going to vote for him. You're going to vote for Como. I don't know why. Maybe because you think he's fly. Because black people like people who fly. So you're going to vote for Como instead of him. I don't have words for it. The only word I would have for it is ignorance. It's ignorance. I don't know what it is. Maybe you don't like Muslims. Maybe you think socialism is an exotic thing that doesn't make sense, but it just doesn't make sense. Bernie Sanders got his ass whooped by Biden in South Carolina in the good old South where black folk live. They're voting against someone who has a progressive view, which says we have to take money out of the hands of corporations. We have to take money out of the hands of people who don't care about the poor. And when we say you don't care about the poor, it means you don't care about the black. Okay. Now I'm going to look at a stat here. Look at the Republicans. The Republicans got tired of the establishment, which is why Trump won. Even though we found out he is establishment, Trump said we're tired of politics as usual. We're tired of George Bush Jr. and George Bush Sr. winning, and now George Bush's younger brother wants to win. That shit ain't gonna happen. And tons of yahoos and rednecks in the South voted for Trump because they got tired of it. So my question is, if the white folks who are rednecks can go for somebody who goes against the grain of the established political order, why is it that our black asses are sitting down here continually voting for the same fucking fools who are not breaking their backs to make sure that the money that our tax money that we get stops going to Israel and putting Israel first. Stop spending money, $1 trillion on weaponry when we only spend 100 billion on education and doesn't pump it into things that help us. We got to get off of our lazy fat asses and start voting for people who care. White folks in the Democratic Party also are leaning towards the progressive. It's the black vote that's holding back the progressive vote in the Democratic Party. And when you're holding back the progressive vote in the Democratic Party, you're holding back a pro-black agenda. Because once again, a pro-black agenda, if you're black in America, unless you live in white neighborhoods or you're an outlier who makes over $60,000 a year, you're poor, you're subject to housing discrimination. You're subject to racial profiling, not only by police, but by banks and loan givers. And you're subject to a system which has held down Black people for 400 to 500 years. And we're still behind and doesn't want to address it. But we give billions to Israel to help them. We claim it's to help the Israelis after all that happened to them with what Hitler did to them. Well, what about what Hitler did to us? And when I mean Hitler, I'm talking about the American government, what it's done to Black people, slavery, housing discrimination, Jim Crow, police profiling, and has never given us reparations for what we've been through. And the Democratic Party gets away with not addressing these issues that we have. The Democratic, I'm talking about the Democratic establishment, not the progressive part. Because they say, oh yeah, you're gonna vote for us because you ain't gonna vote for Republicans because Black people hate Republicans. And by the way, we're not gonna do shit for you, but you're still gonna vote for us because we gave you the right to vote. And now you're voting us in, and we're getting paid. We're helping people in Israel. We're helping people in other countries, but we're not going to help you because you'll vote for us no matter what. Black folks need to wake up. If there's ever, let's go to DC where Jeffries won the Democratic primaries for mayor, which means she's going to win because the Democrats always win in DC. She was running against somebody who was more established, who was loved by the church and shit. And the only reason she won is because an influx of white liberal people who moved into DC voted for us. Let's not let white folks who are highly educated and rich vote for progressive, which means passing economic laws to help everybody, especially us. Let's not let them be the ones who lead the true civil rights movement. And the true civil rights movement is until the US becomes a country in which, whether you're black or white, the government takes the wealth of the country to develop your neighborhood, your infrastructure, and your ability to get education and everything else, then we're not equal. In other countries, this is one of the few countries that has developed in the world where the tax base determines the quality of your schools. Yeah, I got cut off. Then we can compete. So all I'm saying is that this is a critical moment. The Democratic Socialists are beginning to make inroads in America, and they also need the contribution of the black vote. Let's start to look at what the Democratic Socialist agenda is. It's not class based. Class based means whatever your tax base is, that's what you get for your schools and stuff. We know that the tax base in black cities in America is not good, and we know that it's due to historical reasons, slavery, Jim Crow, and even in the North, all kinds of discriminatory housing practices and things. So once it's no longer class based, which means that in our community, the government has to spend profusely in rich neighborhoods and poor neighborhoods, black neighborhoods, redneck neighborhoods, on education, has to start building infrastructure so that jobs and things can be produced, and we produce things in America other than bombs, which only make money for weapons manufacturers who go and create wars for no reason, like the Iran war. That's what democratic socialism means. It means daycare. It means that if you want to go to work, you shouldn't have to pay for somebody to watch your kid. That's the government's responsibility. And it should be the government's responsibility because the government is supposed to function to support people. How can people do well if they can't go to work and have proper daycare for their kids, universal daycare? How can you be productive for your country if you're worried about healthcare? So all of these things help not only black people, they help all Americans, but they give us a chance to start developing our nation and everything else. So this is the first in a bunch of series of episodes we're going to be doing on our channel on the rise of the democratic socialists. At the same time, we're seeing, I'm not going to go against the right also, we're seeing movements in the right, people like Tucker Carlson and people like Marjorie Taylor Greene who quit because she was not going to be part of a country that spends all of its money on bombing people in Israel, but not Israel, Palestine. And she also stood up for Obamacare. Let it be known that Marjorie Taylor Greene stood up for Obamacare. Not because she cares about black people or Obama, but because white poor people were depending on Obamacare. So at the end of the day, the Democratic Socialists are not trying to make poor people become rich. We're trying to make sure that even the poorest people in America have a high standard of living. It doesn't have to be as high as Bezos, but you have a high standard of living. And the only way that can happen is everybody pays their taxes, and the tax money goes towards education, safety, infrastructure to develop businesses and things, healthcare, and most important, I'm going to repeat it again, education. So black folk, get off your goddamn ass the next time there's a primary in which a Democratic Socialist is voting and vote for them. It's not going to really make a difference, but at least you're making a symbolic act. Thank you. Okay.